Hello, my name is Nina Kaiser. I am the co-founder of MindGourmet, and as always, your host today. My today's very special guest, author, and my dear friend is Clayton Ainger. And just in case you don't know him yet, here is some essential information about him. From once being a mergers and acquisitions tax specialist with Deloitte, Clayton Ainger is now a sought-after consultant and speaker, working in the UK and internationally, where he helps senior leaders and executive teams to transform performance and achieve sustainable growth by unleashing passion, nurturing natural talent, and bringing vitality to the workforce. Based in the UK, Clayton is also an internationally recognized psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and spiritual coach. He works with people from all walks of life, all over the world, and hosts workshops in the UK, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Russia, Denmark, Switzerland, and Germany. Clayton is also a 6-time award-winning author of The Ego's Code, an international speaker and creative entrepreneur. In The Ego's Code, Clayton explores the spiritual reasons for negativity, its purpose, and where it comes from. He explains the effect on the physical body, the mind, how it interacts with spirit and impacts on your life. The Ego's Code offers new insights and understanding to change old beliefs and perceptions about negativity. Clayton invites you to undertake simple and yet powerful exercises to release your negativity, to change your reality so you can live your dream life. Clayton has appeared in national magazines like Kindred Spirit, Spirit and Soul Magazine, Yoga Magazine, and Paradigm Shift, just to name a few. During a meditation at Stonehenge, Clayton received clear and detailed guidance about why we experience negativity, the true purpose of ego, and how we can be free of it. He found that there's a pattern to our negativity, which he calls the Ego's Code. And he discovered a way to decipher it, clear out negativity, remove unhelpful habits, change old belief patterns, and restore the soul so that you can live your truth in a life of fun, play, happiness, and fulfillment. Hi, Clayton. Welcome.
Wow, thank you. God, that makes me sound amazing, doesn't it? That's fantastic. Thank you, Nina. It's so wonderful to be here. So wonderful.
Thank you for being my guest. And do you think there's anything missing in my introduction? Is there anything you would like to add before I start with my first question?
No, not at all. I'm often in awe when I hear my bio and when people share that, especially with so much passion. And it triggers me in such a beautiful way and makes me reflect on how far I've come since I was that, tax specialist in mergers and acquisitions. And I just wonder how many times in life, your listeners actually pause and reflect on their life and say, okay, and really notice how far they've come, or if they're stuck somewhere, and why they're stuck and why they're bumping up against themselves. So it is an absolute pleasure and a joy to be here on your show, because I love you dearly.
Me too. And actually, you dove already in my first question, which is, we just heard in the introduction that you actually haven't always been an author, workshop leader, psychic medium. So how did you find your purpose and your calling?
Wow, that's a really, really great question. Well, I've always been connected to spirit. We're all connected to spirit, but I've always had a conscious awareness of it since about the age of 7. And there was a little Norman boy who used to sit outside my bedroom, and he used to watch over me and keep me safe. But I was always afraid of spirit. I didn't really know what it was about as a young boy. And I remember making a conscious decision at the age of 7 to shut everything down. And then I embarked on what I would call a third dimensional life for a while. I trained as an accountant. And because I remember when I was studying in night school, I seemed to have a natural ability for for finance and accounting and taxation. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll go that route. But my reason for doing that was more a state of mind rather than a state of being.
Mm-hmm.
And that state of mind was, well, you know, if I become an accountant, then the story that I told myself is that I would be wealthy and I would be able to create money. But what I didn't realize is how unhappy I would be, how difficult it would be. And as someone who doesn't particularly like rules and loves to challenge the status quo, to be immersed in the largest rules-based tax legislation in the world was very painful.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there is a reason for it, because the systemic process of being an accountant and having to follow the compliance and the structure and the rules has enabled me to write a life-changing book, an award-winning book, to be able to structure and create events that take people on a very dynamic, profound journey where they transform and fall in love with themselves and fall in love with their life. So my awakening was probably, my true awakening was probably about 12 years ago, but every day seems to be an awakening. And 12 years ago is when I met my wife, Lindsay, and she was in the US on business, and I was being poked by my guides, my spiritual guides, to get up and go to Stonehenge, because I don't live far from Stonehenge in the UK. Mm-hmm. And I was very resistant, very, very resistant. I thought, no, just leave me alone, you know, leave me alone. I'm tired, it's raining, I don't want to go, no. But they were persistent, and I got up and I went in the rain, and at Stonehenge then wasn't like Stonehenge now. Now if you go to Stonehenge, there is a border that goes all the way around it.
Yeah.
Then you could actually get to the stones. And I remember sitting with my umbrella, you know, and the rain was coming down, and going through a portal in meditation and being greeted by master druids who introduced me to 3 words: the ego teacher. And then they started to share a little bit about the true purpose of negativity, and the fact that negativity is all about soul healing and soul rejuvenation, which is what my work is really all about. It goes beyond the negativity. And then weeks and months that followed after that was the daily downloads, which was building a jigsaw of what is now the ego's code, what is now my 48-hour soul healing and rejuvenation events, linked in with the coaching that I offer people and the readings that I do, and also the work that I take into corporate, you know. So it's been a fascinating journey that continues to illuminate my life and my heart. So thank you for asking that.
It's very fascinating, and it's very impressive. And oftentimes when we feel like we hit rock bottom, we tend to think that these kind of transformations that you just described are just for a few chosen ones. So what, in your opinion, is actually kind of required to change our lives into the direction we wish for?
Oh, that's an awesome question. Talk about rock bottom. Let's start there. So I've been depressed in my 20s and on medication with the doctor. I've been depressed in my 30s and on medication with the doctor. And then in my late 30s, I probably sabotaged nearly every area of my life. So my relationships, my health and my well-being, finances, my spirituality, which I, you know, denied, and all those kinds of things. And then when I was just so much negativity, I was consumed in it, and I wanted to understand why I was doing this to myself. And negativity happens for a reason. It has a purpose, and part of the challenge with modern society is that we ignore it. We stuff it down, we sweep it under the carpet. And often in my events, I talk about a rocket ship going into space. And if you think about the energy it takes to put a rocket into space, if everybody who's listening, if you realize that you have that same energy trapped in your lower 3 energy centers, and those lower 3 energy centers communicate to you through negativity, then we can access that energy And because it's just energy, and the negativity is just energy, and we can use it to transform our lives and use it as a force for good rather than a blockage in our life. And if people who are listening are bumping up against something, or the same thing just keeps happening over and over again, so maybe you're having challenges around money, maybe you're having challenges in relationships, maybe you're having challenges with health and food, and it's really important to pay attention and to have awareness around that, because the important thing here is every single time that we experience negativity, we are literally being triggered back to the past.
Yes.
And we're reliving the past in the here and the now. So if we're reliving the past in the here and the now, we're not present in our lives. And then we live our life on automatic pilot, and then we wonder why we're still having the same conversations with people, why we're still feeling the same way. And in fact, our feelings become numbed out, because we actually begin to forget how to feel, because negativity becomes normal.
Yeah.
And so, and neuroscience has proven that we spend 95% of our time unconscious. So what does that mean is, in 24 hours, if I give you 8 hours a night for sleep, that means there's 16 hours that you're awake. And in those 16 hours, 15 of them, you're on automatic pilot, not present in your life, not actually living the life that maybe you want to live. So my work is about healing the soul so that you can actually live the life that you're meant to live consciously, and changing those 15 hours maybe down to 10 or down to 5, and imagine what life will be like when you can live that way. It's just extraordinary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there's one quote in your book that I think ties very nicely here into this point. You say, your ego's code communicates with us through negativity and the various masks we wear. And I guess that's pretty much describing those 15 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. And thank you for bringing that up, because here's the thing. Every person, where there is negativity, there is trauma. And it's not about making the trauma bad or wrong. It's just about having an awareness of it. So whenever we, as I said, when we experience negativity, we're being triggered back to the past, and we're reliving the past in the here and the now. So what's happening is this. Every person who's listening to your show is on a soul's journey. And we have 2 or 3 things that we need to learn, that we need to be aware of, that will enable us to truly remember who we are. And learning presupposes that there is something missing. And from a human perspective, there is, but from a divine perspective, there is not. So what happens is that when we experience trauma, it creates a tear in the soul, and part of the soul leaves and goes to a place in consciousness where it feels safe. And then into the hole or the void in the soul that's associated with the trauma is all the negativity that flows from that trauma, and it becomes sealed off. And the longer we don't pay attention to it, that void gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So at the point of incarnation, when we're born, the higher self, our true self, which is omnipresent and is everywhere, that communicates through love and joy and gratitude, and is the best expression of who we are in life, splits into 2. And just keeping the numbers tidy, 99% of it represents and stays the higher self. This tiny, tiny little fragment that splinters off, it forms the ego self. So the ego self and the higher self are actually one and the same thing, and together they represent wholeness and oneness. So what happens is this tiny little fragment, which we give all of our power to, gets programmed with all the negativity associated with our traumas, and then acts like a beacon and sends out a signal into the universe or the quantum field or the divine spiritual system, whatever label you want to call it. But its purpose is to attract to you situations, circumstances, and people so that we can learn. And when we learn, about maybe our relationship with money, or our relationship with food, or our relationship with love or worthiness, whatever that is, it starts to clear out the void and the hole in the soul. And when that clears out, it then enables the soul to return so we can become whole. And so many people say to me on my events and in my one-to-one work is, I just feel like something is missing.
Yeah.
And that's because something is. And we are meant to heal it. We are meant to honor our soul. We're meant to live in accordance with our divine self and the love that emanates from us. But we've just been conditioned by human society to ignore it. The challenge is that when you ignore your negativity, it comes back with teeth.
Oh, yeah.
And it bites very, very hard. And eventually, when we have the dis-ease in the body, or we have financial problems or health problems or weight problems or love problems, that's when we actually start to pay attention. Well, you don't have to wait. You can actually start to observe and be present in your life now. And I can share a little bit later how we do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Negativity is mostly perceived as very unpleasant, painful, and often very fearful. And it just feels awful. So what actually really is the ego's code, and how can we decipher it and release this negativity that feels so unpleasant?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share that. So wherever there are challenges, problems, pain, or ruts in our life. So if everyone who's listening writes down the word rut, R-U-T, if you put a T in front of the R and an H at the end, you get the word truth.
Yes.
So wherever there's a problem, a challenge, or a rut in our life, or a hardship, is because we're not honoring the truth within our heart. And there is a pattern to all of these things that are going on. But if we are consumed in the negativity, and I mean in it, then what happens is we miss the opportunity to decipher it. And so by us focusing on having an awareness of it. So if you come from the stance that when we experience negativity, I repeat, we are reliving the past in the here and the now. So we're not present.
Yes.
So the first thing we do is become present. So we become present through awareness and observation. We need to be aware of how we feel. We need to be aware of when our negativity shows up, whether that be thoughts, feelings, actions, reactions, stories in the head, whatever that is. And if you come from the stance that it's just energy, don't make it bad or wrong, just pay attention to it. The reason people perceive negativity as bad and hurts is because of the reactions that come from that and the way we often treat ourselves or treat other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lie that we tell ourselves. It's really important that we embrace our negativity. So awareness isn't step one. Awareness creates presence. So what it does is it brings us into the here and the now. So if I'm aware that I'm angry, if I'm aware that I'm frustrated, or if I'm aware that I'm sad, it's not about, I need to be strong and put that mask on. It's about saying, what, I'm feeling really sad right now. I'm feeling really angry and frustrated. I had a coaching session this morning with a lady, and she was saying, I'm really angry. And she had this beaming smile on her face. And I said, there's a massive incongruence there in between. I can feel her anger, but she was masking it with a smile. And then we went underneath the anger, and there was fear and there was sadness there. And then all of a sudden we were able to remove those layers through awareness. So awareness creates presence. That's step one. Step two is acknowledgement and engagement with the negativity. So part of the challenge with negativity is that we become consumed in it as opposed to engaging with it. Yeah. And there's very different. And so what I would often do is I would imagine that there's a chair next to me, and I will put, say, my fear in the chair or anger in the chair, and I will engage with it. I'll have a conversation with it. I will listen to it and find out what's going on within me. And I'll be making notes and scribbling and pictures, and then it will tell me what action I need to take. which then brings me to step 3,
Yeah.
which is about acting in accordance with your highest good. So what that means is every decision we make and every action we make must be for our highest good. And what that means is if someone doesn't like what you say or what you do, that's their stuff. That's part of their journey. But the thing here is it takes courage to do that. It takes courage to express your truth. It takes courage to take an action that may in the beginning hurt somebody else, but it's an action that you're taking to take care of you and honor you. And here's the thing: when we act for our highest good, we are automatically acting for other people's highest good. And so, we can invite people on our journey with us, but if they're not ready to come or they don't want to come, then that's okay. But what we mustn't do, if this is us and this is them, what we mustn't do is compromise ourselves and do something out of obligation because we think we should or to please other people.
Yeah.
What we do is we invite them to join us, but if they're not ready, that's okay. Just take the energy out of the relationship. Don't burn the bridge. Just take the energy out and create a space for them to come back into your life later on. 10, 15 years ago, when 10, 15 years ago, when I left the professions and when I started this journey, I spent 8 years training to be an accountant and a tax consultant. And 2 friends at the time, it was really interesting because it was my journey, my decision. They took it really personally that I had chosen to give up 8 years of study, a successful career, and all these kinds of things to embark on the journey that I am doing now. And there was lots of, bad language, and there was lots of horrible things that were said to me. And I made a decision to pull my energy out of the relationship. Anyway, it was just about a couple of months ago, one of those people came to me and apologized and said, I'm really sorry. Back then my head was in a place where the sun doesn't shine, and I was wrong.
Wow.
And I want to congratulate you on, your book and your success. And I would really love to reconnect. And so we're exploring that at the moment, because I only want to spend my time with people like you, Nina, who make me feel good.
Thank you.
Why would I want to spend time with others who don't? Unless I'm teaching or unless I'm helping or it's part of my work, but in my spare time, I just want to spend time with people who I love and that make me feel amazing. And then there's stage 4. So stage 4 is about acceleration. So how do you accelerate this? And it's through meditation. And in meditation, we connect with our divine self. But also we can heal and take care of ourselves and move ourselves forward through meditation as well, which is why I created the Ego's Code meditation. And it's a meditation which people can get on iTunes, they can get it on Amazon. And the whole point of the Ego's Code meditation is to clear out the negativity and to receive a soul retrieval so we can heal.
Yeah.
And those people that have done it every day and work with it are getting amazing, tremendous results in their life. And so those are the 4 stages. Awareness creates presence. Acknowledge it, acknowledge the negativity and engage with it. Act in accordance with it for your highest good, and then accelerate it through meditation.
And is it then that we are, through deciphering our ego's code and learning to be in the present moment, that we are then ready to, like you name it, aligning to your truth?
Yeah.
So I feel like those 8 truths that you write about in the Ego's Code are a very important core element of the book. Would it nicely lead into explaining what they are?
Yeah, completely. And I've got them in front of me, so I will absolutely go through them with you. It's very important for people to realize, okay, so that we are always in creation, okay? Mm-hmm. So quantum physics has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that we experience wholeness 7.8 times per second. Okay? So if we are experiencing wholeness 7.8 times per second, not per minute or per hour, per second, we are always in creation.
That's
So
incredible.
I know, right? So we're either going to create through negativity and that 15 hours of being unconscious, so we keep repeating the same,
Yeah.
or we're going to create through conscious awareness. Now, positive thinking doesn't work because when something is missing in your life and you go, okay, I need to think positively, what the actual undercurrent is lack, or something is missing. And so the universe will respond to what we're sending out. We are frequency beings. And a great friend of mine, lady called Sandra Biskind, Biskind, she does great work about helping people like myself to maintain a high frequency status of our beingness. And I had the pleasure of being with her in Marrakesh and 25 other amazing transformative leaders. And it was just the most incredible time that I had about being in that state of being. And we maintained it for 4 amazing days. And so if we can maintain it whilst we're awake for 4 days, imagine what you can create,
Oh, yeah.
from that state of being. And so the truths help you to maintain that. And each of the truths help to expand your frequency. Now, as you're working through the truths, you will start to get feedback from the divine into your life. And we need to be aware of the feedback, good and bad. So let me give you a quick story. It's a story I always use, but it describes the point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in Zurich at a friend's event, and one of my good friends, Diane Hunter, said, "Hey, Clayton, would you like to come and play with some horses whilst we're here?" So I said, "Yeah, that'd be amazing." So she found a farm nearby, which she had never been to, that had horses, the horses ring. And Diane's an amazing equestrian, and she's just phenomenal. And you should get her on your show. And she stepped into this ring, and these horses who she'd never met before started to dance for her. It was just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen.
Wow.
And yeah, it was just, and she said, "Okay, so it's your turn now." So we did this little process before, and then I stepped into the ring, but I recognized I stepped in with a bit of an attitude, saying, "Oh, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to make these horses come to me." Notice my language. I'm going to make it come to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in terms of forcing, you can't force anything with the divine. It just responds. So I step into the ring, and the horses back away. And the more I move towards them, the more they back away. And I thought, and Diane said, "Stop, stop, stop." She said, "What are you afraid of?" And I said, "I'm not afraid of anything. I said, don't feel fear." So she said, "Just close your eyes." So I closed my eyes and I went through the first 3 steps in my 3-step process. And I thought, and it wasn't fear that I was feeling, it was guilt, which was really interesting because 18 months previously, my beautiful daughter Isabel had fallen off of a horse, fallen under the horse, and got trampled on by the horse and broke her ankle, broke her leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get from the stables to her fast enough, so I had created this guilt. So I was able to change the energy from something that didn't serve me, which I was bumping up against, to something that would serve me. And then the horses started to come to me. And Diane said to me in that moment, she said, "This is feedback. We're always receiving feedback."
Mm-hmm.
And when things come to us easily and effortlessly, it's because we're in the flow. And so the truths help us to stay in that flow and keep an eye on the feedback. So truth 1 is you matter. It takes time to get to know you. So we live very fast-paced lives, and we often can put ourselves second, third, fourth, or last.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we spend time with ourselves and understanding who we are and what is important to us. What makes our hearts sing, and build a relationship with ourselves and connect with ourselves and stop doing things out of obligation because we think that we should. And very recently I've started to change some relationships. When I came back from Morocco, Marrakesh, I now have a measure of what a true friendship means. I now have a measure of what it feels like to be with incredible people who I want to spend my time with. And so when I came back, I became very consciously aware of certain relationships in my life, which was so-called friends or so-called part of my inner circle and my business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to make changes. And I just said to people, I said, I'm really sorry. I said, I don't like the side conversations that are taking place. Our relationship doesn't make me feel good anymore. So I'm putting my energy out. And I got confirmation that that was the right thing to do. And some of these people just reacted and just blew up in my face. And it was really, really fascinating, in terms of their behavior. And I love the person, I just don't accept the behavior. Mm-hmm. So look at you, notice you, get to know you, spend time with you. Doesn't need to be a lot, but the one person who you walk through life with every single day is you.
True.
And I've said to you before and a few other people is, if you really want to know how amazing you are, go and ask 3 friends why they love to spend time with you. And when they give you the answer, pay attention to that. And that's all, because you will see yourself in a different way through their eyes. And a very good friend of mine said to me recently, she said, when you're on stage, I want everybody to fall in love with you. And I said, really? And she said, yeah. I said, why is that? She said, because then everybody will see you the way I see you. And it was really, really, it was one of the most beautiful things anybody said to me. So that's truth 1. Truth 2, all the answers you seek lie within. So listen carefully to you. We all have intuition, and we have intuition for a reason, and it's divinely guided. So it's really important that we pay attention to it. We listen to it. Listen to your body. Yeah. Listen to the information that other people are sharing with you. And more importantly, listen to you and what is going on in the head. Don't dismiss it. It's important. So, for example, my body will communicate with me 2 to 3 months in advance if I have anything from a financial perspective that I need to be paying attention to. And so my body knows often in advance, before my mind, before my body, and before my beingness. And so my body is communicating with me. And so then that enables me to do something about it. If I have an ache in my heart, or I wake up feeling sick in the morning, or I want to pay attention to what's going on, and I want to connect with that energy and find and understand its message. Mm-hmm. There's a great book, I forget who the author is, I think it might be Caroline Myss, Messages from the Body. And our bodies communicate. And so take time to listen to you, to notice you, to hear you. So truth 3, you must go through the resistance. I say to my coaching clients, and this is a quote from Richard Branson, if your goals do not scare you, they are not big enough. Mm-hmm. And if you're not experiencing some form of resistance, then then it's not big enough. It's not there. So set goals. I had the pleasure of meeting an amazing man called Sam Beard in Morocco. And Sam is a 78-year-old genius. And he has worked with the last 8 presidents of the United States. And he thinks big, right? And we were talking about big goals and big dreams, but even the small things. So if there are people who are coaches who are listening, examine your fee and notice, how you would feel about putting your fee up. and do you experience resistance to that? And if you're experiencing resistance, maybe you need to explore your relationship with money. And I've just started to work with a lady called Fabienne Fredrickson, and Fabienne has an amazing business called Bold Heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I would recommend everybody go and check her out. And she helps people to build 7-figure businesses. But she keeps telling me I'm not charging enough. So I'm now examining my relationship with money more. And if someone wants to work with her for a year, it costs them $50,000. If you want to go and have half a day with her, it costs you 10,000 euros. And I'm thinking, wow, and people pay it because she delivers massive value. And so this is about knowing where we're bumping up against things, and it's really about knowing where the resistance is and where those dark corners are, and go into the dark corners. You have nothing to be afraid of the dark corners. It's just your light that's in those dark corners and pieces of soul that wish to return. So use the ego's code meditation and go into those corners. Truth 4, what is yours will come to you. So if you know that what is yours is going to come to you, and you can just let go, detach, and feel the relief now, wow, what kind of life would you then start to live when we actually get out of our own way? And so what is yours will come to you. But the challenge is we resist it. And Rumi says that what you seek is also seeking you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is align to it and receive it. But part of the biggest challenges for a lot of the humanity these days is receiving and giving ourselves permission to receive. And I would often say to people, when your friends invite you out for coffee and they reach into their bag to pay for it and you let them pay for it, you are beginning to master receiving. It takes the same energy to receive a free cup of coffee as it does a book deal. The only thing that's in between is resistance. So go through the resistance. Truth 5, speak highly of yourself, and this will naturally change your results. Language has energy and power, so think before you speak. So I had the most incredible gift when I was in Marrakesh. I'll tell you, somebody else. His name is Dr. Voice, and he teaches people how to sing. He's worked with Sam Smith and some other incredible singers. And he's all about mastering the voice, and the voice has energy attached to it and frequency attached to it. And it's the voice that can change lives, which is why musicians get paid so much money, because they change lives through helping people to feel certain ways. And so really think about the words that we use and the language that we use and how we talk about ourselves and how we talk about others. So that's the next truth. Truth 6, your environment will enable you to flourish or falter. So this is so important for people. Does your environment enable you to rise up, or does it keep you small? Mm-hmm. And there's sort of 3 things I would often say to people around this. The first one is look at your own habits. So what are the habits that you have, that you do to yourself that cause you pain and harm? Change them. What are the habits that you have that enable you just to rise up and, and take great care of you, and do more of those? Mm-hmm. And then number 2, around your environment, are the people who we spend our time with. Who are those people in your life that see you, as it says in the avatar, I see you. And when they see you, they just want the best for you. They just want to love you, but they will hold you to a higher standard because they see you in maybe ways others don't. And then the other side of that is, who are those people who say, for example, Nina, you're just too much. You need to calm down. Or who are those people that, tell you that you can't, or you don't have the experience, or you don't have the knowledge? How dare they get in your way? And how dare you let them? So it's really important that we look at those 2 things from an environment perspective. And then the third one is, just on that, is then when you identify who those people are, take the energy out. And then the third thing here is then looking at your physical environment and making sure it flows, and maybe feng shui it, and and having an amazing experience with the environment which you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Truth 7: the more you love your life, the more your life will love you.
Yeah.
Live your life with a passion. And if things aren't going well for you, then find a way to express it and love it. At the beginning of this year, I made a conscious decision that I was going to be congruent in every area of my life. And the reason I'm doing that is because the greatest transformational leaders are the same person on stage as they are off stage. And I realized that I was maybe 50, 60% of the way there. And as soon as I made that decision on the 1st of January, my goodness me, the divine's been kicking my ass.
Ooh.
Every area of my life, and I mean every area of my life, has been poked and prodded and kicked, and there's been pain and joy and hardship and challenge, and I don't want to be caught up in it. I'm in the eye of the storm of it, so I can see what's going on, and so I'm not making it bad or wrong. It just is, but it's forcing me to make some hard decisions that I need to make. And then truth 8: there is always opportunity for kindness.
Yeah.
Love you completely and unconditionally. Be kind to yourself first. And when we're kind to ourselves first, we are then kinder and more loving towards others. And it's okay to be kind to you first. It's okay to love you first. Because if we are kind to others first, then we're not with ourselves, it can cause resentment. And when we experience resentment and then judgment and then blame, it's those situations where we then give our power away. And we don't want to be doing that. We want to have all of our power for ourselves. So be kind to you first, love you first, and then share that kindness and love with others. So when we live our life in accordance with those truths, then what happens is we're then able to allow our frequency to expand and grow. And we're sending a message to the universe that we want to live a life that honors us and honors our divine self. And then the universe will deliver that to you tenfold. And I would often, when I'm doing my creations, I will say to the divine, I say, bring me this or something better. And every single time it shows up bigger and better than I could have ever imagined.
I think these 8 truths, they are extremely powerful. And what seems to me like weave through them as a common thread is that it is so extremely important to be aligned in our thoughts and our feelings. Do I see that correctly?
Yes, completely. And part of the challenge is people make, when things don't go right, they make it bad or wrong. And so there's an exercise which I would invite all people to do, and that's about looking at where you're in flow and where you're out of flow. And to just sit and observe. So get a sheet of paper and put 4 columns on it, and then just sit and observe your life just for a week or so, and just notice what's not working or not where you want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a list in column 1 of everything that's not in flow, that's not working for you. And then you go through each one in turn and you ask yourself the question, is this important to me, yes or no? If it's no, you cross it out. If it's maybe, that's a no, cross it out.
Yeah.
And then you go to column 2, and column 2 is like, when this is in my life and when this item is in flow, so call it health. When health is in flow in my life, what will my thinking be, or what is my thinking? What are my feelings, keeping it present, and what are my behaviors? And then you go to column 3, and column 3 is, what is my current thinking, what are my current feelings, and what are my current behaviors, which is causing this not to be in flow. It's not about making it bad or wrong, it's just observation. We want data. When we have data, we can make a change. And then column 4 is then you're looking at what differences you need to start to introduce. What are the changes? And then you just own them. And gradually you introduce those new changes. Don't try to do them all at once, because the human element of us will experience overwhelm. And so we need to take the greatest care of ourselves. and realize that when we experience stress, we're experiencing high beta brain waves in the brain, which means that we're nowhere near peak performance. And when we're in high stress and high beta brainwaves, we're not present. And so we can't create, we can't think clearly. So by taking care of our well-being through the 8 truths, through breathing and meditation practice, it actually lowers a high beta down into medium, and then low beta into alpha. And then that is peak performance, when we start to think and work clearly. And there's a great book by Jerry Nestor Hicks called The Vortex. And they talk about, in that book, about being in the divine. Don't do any work in your day or start your day until you feel like you're in that divine space, because that's when we're more proactive and we're rather than reactive, and we can't think about, or we can't think clearly. We need to be in the vortex or in that space or that state of being to be able to honor ourselves. And that's what the 8 truths start to do.
Yeah. And I think probably everybody desires change, either from a point of pain or from a point of, inner tickling from desires. And I have been reading your book. I have been listening to the Ego's Code meditations many times, and I just love it. I have your audiobook, and I just wanted to point out that if people want to connect more with you because they would like to work with you in person, or they would maybe like to attend one of your events, that I think now is the perfect time to tell them how they can do it and what is expecting them. Okay,
perfect. So what would be amazing for people to come to my website, which is claytonjohnainger.com, that's JOHN, and join our community, join our tribe. And, the tribe is growing, and we're taking care of ourselves, and we're nurturing each other, and it's a beautiful community to be in. And if people want to have a personal taster of me, they can sign up for a reading. My calendar is in the top right-hand corner of my website, so you just need to go on and book some time. It is literally that easy. If people want to have coaching with me, then they can just email me directly, and I'll send them some information about coaching. And there's also some information about coaching on the website. If people want to come to an event, so I'm doing a number of speaking gigs here in the UK across March, just a couple of hours. Where am I? I'm at the Consciousness event in Bournemouth on the 7th of March. Then I am going to speaking in Solihull at the health centre there. Then I'm at the Yes Group in Bristol and in Norwich, and all the information is on my website with the dates and everything. I'm in Toronto actually in the next couple of weeks. So on the 24th and 25th of February, I'm in Toronto and Ontario, and I'm running a one-day workshop called a one-day workshop in soul healing and rejuvenation. So people can come along, and it's like $200 Canadian for the day, and they can get to experience me. The day after they come to that event, the day after they can come to my event called the Walk of the Modern Day Shaman. And I teach you how to read like me. I teach you how to do shamanic healing and how to take care of others as well as yourself. If people are interested in a bigger event, so I'm running at the moment 4 big events. So I have a 48-hour soul healing and rejuvenation event. The first one is on the 8th, 9th, 10th of June, and that's in Toronto. I'm just finalizing dates now for London in the UK. Then there'll be one in New York, and then there will be one in Amsterdam. So those are the 4 that I'm looking at. I don't do very many a year at the moment, but they will be growing. I'm also exploring. Some people have asked me to come to Dallas, and some people have asked me to come to Boulder, Colorado. So I'm also looking at those as well. But come and join the community. Come and play. Come and experience me, experience each other, and it's fun. People can also follow me on Twitter at Clayton J Ainger. I put lots of different things up every day. Animal spirits and runes, so people can have messages every day. Some interesting articles come up. So please come and play. Please come and experience the best of you. I would love to meet you. I'd love to work with you and have fun with you.
Yeah, and if you've just been worried about all that much information, we are linking Clayton's website below this interview, his social media channels, and his book. So don't be worried, you'll always find him. And Clayton, you have been very quickly touching on one part of your work that, if it's okay for you, I would like to highlight it more, and that is your readings, because I think they are extremely powerful. For me, life-changing. So what is it actually, a reading with you?
Okay, so I love to read for people. And so putting the label of psychic medium to one side, we know we all have the same gift to be able to do it. But what I do is everybody has a personal star and a higher self. And sometimes when we're not listening to our higher self and our intuitive self, you need someone like me who can access it for you to give you the information that you need. So what I do 30 minutes before a call, I will tune in to you and I will make notes. And often it's 5-6 pages of notes that your guides are sharing with me that you need to know, and which will help you to get back on track, to move forward, to make changes in your life, whatever that is. And we talk through that for the first 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The last 15 minutes is I read the runes. So the runes are like a little stone with a symbol on, and each symbol has a meaning, a message, an action, and energy. And the reason I read the runes is because the human self, the human element of us, likes to take action.
Yeah.
So what better way to take divinely guided action rather than just action for action's sake? And I was reading for a lady the other day, and I read for her the first time 12 months ago, and she has a reading every 3 months without fail. And there's always a gap of 3 months between each reading, because you need time, one, to do the work, but also two, to integrate the changes in life. Mm-hmm. And we had this reading the other day, and she said, similar to you, it's completely changed my life. Where I was 12 months ago to where I am now. And she does the work. She takes the action like you do. Because 5 minutes after the reading finished, I have forgotten everything. So I record the reading, I send people the reading, and it's often a very deep, profound experience. But for me, it's one of the greatest gifts that people can give me, to trust me with their energy, to trust me with their divine self. It's just one of the greatest gifts that people can give. And I take the greatest care of it. I'm very serious about that. And when people are with me, I'm completely present, and I honor them in every way. So it's, people would like to have a reading with me, please just go to my website. My calendar is on the top right-hand corner. Just pick a time slot and we'll have a call. And all calls are done over Zoom. Everything gets recorded, and and then I send it to you immediately afterwards. And I also give a 15-minute complimentary follow-up for people, for when they have questions, because sometimes the reading, there's so much information, it can be overwhelming. So it's I would invite everybody to come and have a reading with me. So thank you for mentioning that, Nina. I appreciate it.
Of course. I think that's very important. And I think we are at a very, very beautiful point to close this conversation. I feel like we have touched on so many things, on so many levels. But I don't want to close it without asking you if there's anything else you would like to add to our conversation or tell to our audience.
I think there is a great quote by Brenda Eland, which says that everybody is talented, original, and has something very important to say. And what that means is we all have a story to tell and a story to share. And it's very important for people to share their story. And whether that be to close friends or family, or whether that be on a big stage, it doesn't matter. But embrace your story, and if you're not happy the way your story is, change it. And I went to, just one final thing, I went to the cinema the other night, And it wasn't a very good film. I'm not going to tell you which film it was, but it wasn't a very good film. But it was very interesting that I clearly had to be there for one message. And the message was that I get to choose what kind of man I want to be. And you get to choose what kind of woman you want to be. And everybody who's listening in, you get to choose who you want to be in the world. And it's the one thing that we're really born with from a very powerful place. And I would invite people to pause and reflect and ask themselves, who do they choose to be? What is the story that they wish to share about themselves? And then go and live that person and live that life.
Thank you from my heart for our conversation. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show, and it still feels so good to say on the show. And thank you everybody for listening in. I just wanted to remind everybody that life sometimes is comparable to a car, and we tend to not sit in the driver's seat of our car. So let's remember to take the driver's seat and steer our car where we would like actually it to go. Thank you, Clayton.
Thank you, Nina, for having me. I love you dearly. It's been an absolute gift and a pleasure.
Love you too.
Love you too.